Welcome to this bonus episode of Timm Talk, the podcast, actually more often than not now, about the DC animated universe, co-created by Bruce Timm. I am Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
But this week we are back with a bonus episode to talk about Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
That some theaters are calling it.
As it is occasionally now known.
Yes.
Did I get the title right? I think
that sounds right.
I think I got it right this time.
Yeah. Yeah, you were
off the dome.
Notes.
I didn't.
I know.
Didn't
I
write
was
that
impressed.
down.
Yeah. You locked eye contact the whole time.
I had to stop and really think about it to make sure I got it right. And
Yeah.
even then, probably still got it wrong.
No, that sounded right.
Yeah. No, we're of course here to talk about that movie, but also by extension the Harley TV show, because we have like two pretty major representations of her on screen right now we're talking about. But as any of you who are listening to this are aware, being one presumes Batman fans, we do have a rather critical piece of news to discuss this week.
Yes.
I am, of course, talking about the Billie Eilish title track song from No Time
it's
to Die.
pretty good.
It's good,
It's
right?
really good.
It actually is really good. I mean, no, we're going to definitely talk about the camera test from the Batman revealing the first example of the new Batsuit. But the funny thing for me is that camera test came out at the same time as the Billie Eilish song. So I'm at work and my phone is blowing up from both sides of my nerddom. Everyone asks me, "Oh my God, have you seen the camera test / have you listened to the song?" And me just going to everyone, "No, I have not yet. I'm still at work."
Yes. Please stop bothering me.
Leave
My
me
boss is
alone.
looking at me.
But no, I mean, I do want to talk about the Bond theme real quick though.
Please do.
I quite enjoyed it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for the visuals to go along with this.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I'm most intrigued by, is to see what sort of visual pairing they do. It's a little bit different of a song. Like, it feels like a modern take on like a kind of a more classic Bond song. Like Adele's Skyfall is definitely, Shirley Bassey's Goldfinger done for the modern age. It's kind of hitting those same sort of tone.
Who did Casino Royale?
That was Chris Cornell.
That's right. Okay.
Famously of Audio Slave, who is unfortunately no longer with us. But that was also quite a bit of a departure. But I think that was deliberate. That whole movie was intended to be a departure from a typical Bond film.
Yeah.
And the visuals, the title sequence especially, had never been done.
Oh, that was so good.
It's really good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. I mean, this feels different. I mean, I feel like she's whispering through the whole thing.
Well, that's her style, though.
It's her style, yeah. It'd definitely be a hard song to do for karaoke, because you wouldn't know what the hell you were saying.
Well, because funny enough, for people that like listen to Billie, people were shocked that she like belts in the song.
Yeah, she
because
does.
She never does that.
Yeah, I've actually only listened to it once. Crazy enough, now that I think about it. But it definitely builds towards a big moment there towards the end. I'm quite excited about it. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm still a little bit nervous with the movie. The reported 3-hour runtime is of concern to me. It makes me worried that they saw Avengers Endgame and went, "Oh, that's what people loved most about this."
Oh, people really enjoy time travel in these movies.
The producers in the Bond films have a long history of trying to follow a trend, but oftentimes picking the wrong thing to follow.
Okay, so on that note, if they did a Bond multiverse, would that be a horrible idea or a wonderful idea? And into the Bondverse.
Into the Bondverse. So, okay, it's funny you mentioned that. There were rumors at the end of Skyfall, originally, instead of going to his parents' house out in Scotland, he was going to go to a retirement home for
Agents?
for 00 agents. And that the role played by Albert Finney was originally going to be Sean Connery. And that there may have been like some suggestion like he isn't necessarily Bond, because this franchise or this iteration has particularly disproved the theory that it's a code name, because like that's actually his name.
Yeah.
But the idea was that he was going to be like an older agent, and they were talking about like possibly it being, they have this whole idea. So like that was like the closest they've ever come to a Bond verse.
You're gonna find out his name is James Bond Jr.
I mean, that's a thing. That's a cartoon.
I'm sure it is.
But it's actually like his cousin, his like nephew or something.
Great.
I don't know how that works. I mean, the thing that kind of sucks is we never at any point got all 6 Bonds in a room together. Unfortunately, like Roger Moore has since passed, and there's always talks about like maybe for the 50th anniversary, the Oscars was going to get all of them together to do like some sort of special presentation. But I think the reason that didn't happen is, one, like Sean Connery is just like a cantankerous old asshole, but I think he's also in rather failing health at this point too.
Okay.
So I think that's part of the reason they probably couldn't get him, or one of the reasons they couldn't get him. I don't know. I mean, I mean, look, I would love for like Daniel Craig to have to interact with, say, Roger Moore's Bond. Like, they are so far from each other.
Yeah.
They'd be really interesting. You could have like Timothy Dalton show up and be like super earnest, but no one takes him seriously. Like, there is a really fun story to be told somewhere.
Well, then of course you have to have who was before Craig?
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan has to come out of an invisible car.
He does. But I feel like Pierce Brosnan would show up and would just be like so at peace with the whole thing. He's just like, look, I'm here. I'm just having a good time. I don't really care what you guys are up to.
I feel like it would be like all the Bonds kind of trying to one-up each other. And then just like in the corner, you see a door of nothing come open. Like, oh, not right now. And then it's like close.
You guys are good. I'm going to leave. Yeah.
And you just like hear the tired. Like this.
It's true. I just rewatched that the other day with CJ, former guest on the show, and we were commenting on how stupid it is that for an invisible car they used a V12 powered Aston Martin that sounds like a goddamn airplane at idle. It's not very stealthy. But the last great part of having a Bond verse crossover is that George Lazenby wouldn't be helping at all. He'd just be off womanizing somewhere.
Of course.
Yes. Which would be highly entertaining. But no, obviously still super excited for that movie. And I think the theme song is a good indication of hopefully good things to come.
Yeah.
But let's get to the real root news here, which of course is the screen test.
Mm-hmm.
Were you waiting for their fake out right there?
No.
Okay.
I had a question set up, which is, what is the purpose of a screen test, a public screen test?
I mean, this is just, I think, a more filmic way to do a reveal. Because it's a camera test, right? So it's just like, I guess, a camera test I feel like wouldn't usually be done in really intense red lighting that will probably not feature prominently in the movie, I would guess. I mean, ultimately, this was just Matt Reeves' way of showing off a piece of the Batsuit.
Well, because they did this the same way with Joker.
They did something like
Joaquin
this.
did it. And I feel like Jared Leto also did a screen. I feel like someone in Suicide Squad did a screen test.
Okay.
Maybe it was just we got the laugh from Jared Leto early.
I don't even remember what that.
I just remember it was bad.
Wheezing, incoherent laugh would have been. And my bad. I said screen test. I meant to say camera test because screen test would be for actually like auditioning for the movie. I don't know what the like actual filmic use of this is. I think it was just his way of doing something other than just putting a photo out.
So my guess is like you're gonna have a paparazzi photo come out pretty soon, and this is them just like, okay, we haven't actually looked at the suit outside yet. This is our only chance to like get ahead of that story.
And you want to, because I think at this point, so much, it's really difficult to escape any sort of like set photos coming out, and the last thing you want too is for them to
unflattering photo to be the first thing that comes out.
Yeah, because what did that happen with? That happened with, was it Shazam that they did put out?
Shazam had a pretty early photo, yeah.
But I'm trying to remember. I feel like
the Henry Cavill Superman had a pretty early photo, and people didn't like the suit. You couldn't see any. It was like from the side, and from the side you couldn't see any of the red, so it looked like just one giant blue onesie,
which
very ripped.
It
and
is,
very cut onesie.
It is still a giant blue onesie.
Yeah.
It was kind of a muted shot. You couldn't really see a lot of detail. I'm totally blanking on this, and someone is now like screaming into their phone. But I feel like that happened recently with a pretty big comic book property. That the first photos put out were set photos. I want to say it was Shazam, and it just didn't look great. And then they finally put out a proper enhanced photo, and like, oh, this actually looks pretty good.
Because the Shazam one, because it was the first time we'd seen. Yeah, I think it is Shazam, because it was the first time we saw Zach Levi, built and in the muscle suit.
Yeah.
And so it looked so jarring compared to what we knew of him before.
Right.
Of like, oh, that's just a giant inflated, like that SpongeBob episode where he gets the muscle arms.
Yes, exactly.
Like comparable to that. And then because it was, again, it was like on the side. It was like him holding something, so the bicep was extra bulgy. And then later we got the. I assume probably E had it in their magazine.
Yeah, I think they put out a proper photo. But yeah, I mean, what did you think of the new suit?
It looks fine. It feels very Arkham game.
Yeah.
Tones.
Yeah, very like armored, metallic.
Yeah. The emblem in the middle, I feel like it's just gonna be like full of gadgets.
So I don't think this has been confirmed anywhere, but the heavy rumor flowing right now is that the emblem is made of pieces from the gun that killed his parents.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which, if that is true, and if you look at the detailing on it, that totally seems plausible. If that's true, that's metal as fuck.
That feels extra dark.
Like, that's really dark. And I mean, one of the things I do like about it too is that it doesn't have the ears on it, so it's actually it looks like the original 1939 Detective Comics costume, which is kind of cool. I thought it was interesting that it has like a bit of like a shawl collar kind of thing going on. Like the cape doesn't just come straight out of the suit. Like there's a bit of like a neck to it a little bit, which is kind of interesting. We didn't see the ears.
I know, and there's a weird lot of debate about what kind of ears he should have.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm like, I don't care.
I mean, I was going to ask you, what ears do you want to see?
I don't care. As long as there is some ears.
I want it to also be 1939 style, like super pointy way off to the side. They look like radio antenna almost.
Yeah, like the foot-long ears, yeah.
I mean, it's not a lot. It's just a little bit to kind of like whet people's appetite.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks cool.
Mm-hmm. You get that great Arpat's bat line, or jawline.
Oh, man's got great jaw.
Yeah.
He gives good jaw. And a lot of people have been saying that it looks a lot like the Daredevil suit.
I see that.
To the point where our friend Jonathan actually sent me an article about like comparisons to the two. 'Cause I mean, especially with the red lighting, it looks a lot like it. I'm also very curious the piece of score they have on there, if that is like an early sample from Giacchino or if that comes from somewhere else. I didn't recognize it.
I when I was Googling it, someone mentioned it was Giacchino.
Okay.
But I don't know. Who knows? I feel like people are just talking shit right now to try and get views.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course they are. They just want anyone to click on anything.
Mm-hmm.
I actively always try and find the original source videos in these sort of things.
Yeah.
Which really is like hard to do sometimes with stuff like this or trailers. Like, I think it was even like the Billie Eilish song when I was trying to track it down. Like the first thing that pops up is like an IGN repost on YouTube. I'm like, no. Like I want to actually go to the original thing put out by the studio.
I would trust IGN.
Oh, it's not a matter of me not trusting it. It's just like if I'm going to give the view to someone, I'm going to give it to the studio.
Yeah,
not
like
that
the Warner Media's channel.
Not that Warner Brothers needs it, but still.
But you also have that stuff where sometimes it's like an offshoot channel because sometimes like Warner Brothers has like the Batman YouTube channel.
Yeah,
and like they'll be the ones to post it. And when you go to Warner Brothers, it doesn't show anything. Like Disney has that problem a lot.
Yeah, Disney's hard to track down the real thing.
Yeah, like they have like the Disney YouTube, they have Mickey's YouTube, Princess YouTube. And like I want to watch the Mulan trailer. It's like, why is it on Mickey Brazil? Like,
yeah, it's easily all gets kind of sidelined. But I'm hopeful about this.
Yeah, I would be more excited to see all the villains. I assume we're gonna get a photo coming out in the next, probably at WonderCon. I bet is when we're gonna get like the full.
Is WonderCon big enough?
Well, I mean that's just. I feel like Entertainment Weekly would put out their issue during WonderCon.
I don't think WonderCon's is. I think. This is. I would say right now, this is the biggest comic movie in production that people are excited about. Just because we're now starting like a new phase up with Marvel. I mean, I'm excited for both the Eternals and Black Widow, but not as excited I am for like a Matt Reeves Batman movie.
Yeah, but we've seen stuff from those movies already, so they're not going to be the main subject of a WonderCon. Like, WonderCon could fully go into like. Here's all the Batman stuff you need to know.
But what I'm getting at with that is I think they're going to save all of this for Comic-Con because I think
even first looks.
Yeah, I think so look, it's February now. They're only just starting principal photography. So maybe we'll get some other teases of looks, but I mean, I think we're definitely going to get some sort of like teaser trailer. I think they're going to hold off until Comic-Con to do any major reveals because the thing is Warner Brothers shows up to San Diego Comic-Con with anything the Batman related. That's the biggest story coming out of there this year.
That's true.
Like, I don't think Disney is going to announce anything huge down there. I don't think Marvel's going to announce anything huge down there. And even if they do, I just can't imagine it really comparing with this. Like, we already can project that this is going to own comic book news during its production more so than anything else happening.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Exciting, though. It's good. Very exciting. And also, I mean, I think this kind of does segue a little bit into, like, the topic at hand, which is Harley Quinn, which is... As excited as I am for this movie, its existence does still highlight a lot of the problems happening with Warner Brothers, which ultimately comes down to, well, I'll eventually get into it. My problems with Harley Quinn is I think it would have been better with a connective universe. But I actually want to talk about.
What do you mean? We saw a poster of Captain Boomerang. What do you mean?
That was a fun
universe.
That was a fun little nod. I did like that. But I was surprised actually. I don't know where I thought coming into this you also weren't so hot on this movie. It turns out you really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed this movie.
Okay,
because this is maybe my second favorite DC film.
Like of all of them?
Of the current ones.
Well, that's not really. It's probably everyone's second favorite behind Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I think it's probably true of most people. The bar is tragically low.
I mean, Shazam is good. I like this a little more than Shazam.
Oh, that's a good question, actually, which I haven't even thought about. Shazam. Kind of forget about that movie.
We just talked about it.
Yeah, I know.
Minutes ago.
But I also tend to forget about it.
Yes.
But no, like I was not super hot on this, and I for some reason I assumed you'd come in.
That's so. I was coming from the idea that you were gonna like this movie. I thought it was fun. It's vibrant. It greatly underplayed Huntress, which hurt me a little bit.
Yeah.
The choreography is wonderful. The cinematography is fun.
Yeah. No, I want to hear more positive things. Like I genuinely like. I always feel bad being like. I'm usually the cynical one, right?
Yes.
We do this. I should know these things.
Yeah, it's more shocking when I don't like it and you do like it.
Yeah.
Now we're just playing into our stereotypes.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah. Cameron once again liking a bad movie.
I do see where a lot of people dislike the movie. Like I feel like the second act is very slow and muddled. Mm-hmm. But that I feel like the police office fight sequence is so wonderful. I could watch Harley snort coke for another 5 minutes of that sequence. And then the last sequence in Amusement Mile was so much fun.
It was pretty
so
fun.
Creative, and because it's the what's his face from John Wick came on.
So it's Chad Stahelski came in to do a lot of the second eunuch.
Yes, the second eunuch fights.
The second eunuch fights. Mm-hmm. No, he did a lot of the second unit stuff and a lot of the fight choreography, and I think
it shows in this one. Like it
does.
It feels very Atomic Blonde.
It does, yeah, and I think that is probably the single strongest point in the entire movie is the fight choreography, which sounds like painting it with a bit of faint praise, but I actually think it's just genuinely
it's
that
great choreography.
Good.
It's all wide shots.
Yeah.
There's no like close up bullshit. There's
No.
not a lot of CGI that's going on.
No, and I think there's
a real hand slapping those people. It was also just like super creative. Like,
it was very creative, and I think Margot Robbie's doing a lot of it. Like you said, a
Yeah.
lot of it's wide enough. Like it's wide enough that you see the full movement, but it's close enough you can tell. Like actually, that's probably her. Through a lot of it, and I think it goes to speak to how much she cared about this movie. I think she put in a lot of effort into this in terms of the character and in terms of producing the movie and like training and like really putting it in the fights.
Yeah.
Because the fight sequences are amazing, and I think the standout sequence in the whole thing is definitely when she breaks into the GCPD. That is so much fun.
Yeah.
Like her having the riot gun and just firing glitter cannons and beanbags at all the cops. Like it also was great because it subverts the violence in a lot of ways. Like,
and especially for an R-rated film, like there wasn't a lot of over the top violence.
So I mean, actually, along those lines, do you think this needed to be R-rated?
Ooh, that's a good question. I want to say no, but then I feel like they wouldn't have pushed Black Mask and Zsasz as far as they did.
I will give you that. Yeah, I think...
Like, I feel like Victor Zsasz is a character... Like, oh, I hated him. I mean, he did a good job because I did hate him so much.
Yeah, he's entirely despicable.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of my favorite things about this movie is just how, like, despicable all the male characters are. But I want to hang on
he's just like this insect in your ear. It's like...
Yeah. No, he's just so gross. But I do want to hang on the radar thing for a little bit because I think... I mean, the way we saw it the most prominently utilizing the rating was just in the swearing.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's saying fuck all the way through the whole thing. Some of the violence is a little intense, but not so much so that it really felt extreme.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, where all the blood was.
There really isn't a lot.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit surprising because I feel like the one thing you can do great with a blockbuster like this, if you push it to R rating, is you can actually really acknowledge the cost of the violence. And given that this movie, probably more so than a lot of other superhero movies, really does acknowledge just like the consequence of actions and isn't shy about it, I was kind of surprised that it didn't maybe really try and make a lot of the violence a bit more extreme and highlight it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I liked where it was because I feel like I enjoyed this movie because it didn't feel serious.
Okay.
I mean, especially compared to the rest of the DC films, this one felt the most like
whimsical.
Yes, whimsical and whatever the opposite of realism is.
Oh, why can we? Why can we never remember
neoclassical?
Thank you.
No, that's not it.
Why can we never remember the term? It starts with an F.
I think so.
Formalism?
I think so. That sounds right.
This would be a better recurring bit if it was intentional. One,
yeah,
and two,
formalism and realism.
It didn't involve us having to take a pause to look it up every time.
Formalism, yes.
I would agree with that. It is one of the more formalist. Would that be the adjective version?
Yeah. Especially like the moment. I feel like the tone set when Ace Chemicals goes up is like a good tone of like it's just like a fireworks show.
Yeah. See,
I liked that, and then I feel like a point you're gonna make is you have all these fun, happy things going on, and then my least favorite part of the movie is just the drag that is Renee Montoya.
So, I like Renee Montoya in this actually. It's a bit of a different take on the character.
I enjoy it. I just feel like it's so distant from every other character in this universe.
I think it helps bring a bit of a balance that everyone's not quite so heightened, but I think it does highlight for me was a bit of a tonal inconsistency in this.
Yeah.
And it's not quite as tonally messy as, say, Suicide Squad. But the movie opens with like the whole animated sequence recapping Harley's story, which I really enjoyed. And then I really like as it's going through, she comes across a new person and like it highlights that person's grievance with her. Mm-hmm. It makes it just feel like a little bit jointed and disjointed and weird. And it fits Harley's mindset since she is our narrator of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it also wasn't consistent in its weirdness and its fun. Like, I feel like there are kind of two movies clashing here a little bit.
Okay.
I think there's the more fun, whimsical movie that is highlighted by like some of the dialogue and the animated sequences and the breaking on the GCPD, which is like really big and bright and fun and colorful. And then I think there's also a really good story they're telling, basically calling out toxic masculinity, especially as it manifests itself in the villains. I think like that's one of the best things in this movie is just how fucking terrible Black Mask and Victor Zsasz are.
Yeah.
It was also mentioned by Ashley Clark because I messaged her like, hey, what'd you think about the movie? Because I always love getting her perspective on it. And one of the things she highlighted was that sequence where Black Mask has the freak out and like makes the girl like he like cuts away the girl's dress or makes her boyfriend cut away the dress and how just really cringeworthy and uncomfortable it is. And a great point Ashley brought up is that nothing about that scene is sexy.
Right.
That if it were a male director, that might have been a bit more like
you don't even
sexualized
see
and gratuitous.
the girl.
No, you don't see anything about her. You just see
his reaction.
Yeah, all of their reactions to it and just how uncomfortable everyone is. And it just goes to show that like Black Mask is just a fucking awful person. Mm-hmm. And I liked that it went there. I like that it's like there are really. Is there a single decent male character in the entire thing?
Hold on, so we see.
So, I mean, the main ones are Black Mask and Zsasz, who are obviously awful, right? There's Montoya's chief,
who always takes credit.
Who takes credit for her, and it's kind of an a-hole.
Partner who just
is an idiot.
Yeah.
There is
Cassandra Cain's dad, who's just always fighting with the mom.
Wait,
we don't see them, but we hear them.
Wait, is Cassandra Cain's? Oh, like her foster parents.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, I was gonna say because that's something I do want to talk about is who Cassandra Cain in the comics, her actual parents are.
Right.
It's a big deal, and it's not even talked about here at all.
Huntress's dad.
No,
I guess the mom is the one that gives her the
brother, the little brother.
Okay.
So there's one character, the little brother, who is murdered before he gets a chance to become awful because he is part of like the wealthiest crime family in all of Gotham. So clearly they're not great people. There's one of the henchmen for the rival crime family that saves Helena and takes her to Italy to go train. So I guess he's okay, but I mean that's kind of like a little mini redemption story for him.
So it's only American men.
I mean because there's even the guy who owns the Chinese food restaurant.
Oh yeah, he's great.
But he ends up betraying Harley.
Yeah.
But like I mean, so like there's no really upstanding male characters in the whole thing, which I actually really like that because I think it ties well into the whole theme is like it's
because that's the most realistic part of the story.
Honestly, it is. It really is.
Yeah.
And it also ties in so thematically well of the idea that like this is Harley breaking away from the Joker and like doing her own thing. And so it's her breaking out of a really toxic relationship. So it kind of makes sense that a lot of the male characters around here would also be toxic because like the whole point of this, and I think one of the best parts about it is that the whole movie is really about all of the female characters like basically having to put themselves on the line to help save another woman. Mm-hmm. Like that's how Black Canary and Harley end up kind of teaming up initially, right? Is like she sees that she's getting kidnapped by these like sleazy guys and she goes and beats the shit out of them. Like I love that.
Yeah.
Like and even, it's Black Mask and Zaz are after Cassandra Cain and it's Harley having like, okay, fine, I'll go and help you sort of thing. Like I love that idea of it. Like the camaraderie between all of them I thought was really fantastic.
Yeah. Have you gotten to that episode of Sex Ed yet?
I'm like halfway through season 2.
Okay.
Is it in season 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm very excited for that now. Mm-hmm. That is a great show.
It's great.
It keeps continuing to be amazing.
Yeah.
I know I plugged it last week, but this is like a soft plug once again.
It's so because now you've met the other guy.
Oh, the French guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great.
He's got the worst haircut.
Oh, it's horrible. It's so bad.
That's not true. It's not as bad as Charlize Theron's Fast 9 haircut. It's terrible. But no, go watch Sex Education. But no, I mean, I think the story it's telling there about the consequence of toxic masculinity and breaking away from it are really, really great and really well done. And I like that story. I like that it's being done in a huge like blockbuster comic book movie. Mm-hmm. I think it's delivering a much more effective message than say Joker.
Yeah, I agree. There was a review that I watched the other day where like someone was complaining about how can people hate Joker when this is the same kind of horrible action with just a more light beat tone. I'm like, what do you mean this is the same horrible action? They don't shoot anyone in this.
Yeah, like so I guess the only people who get shot are the bad guys.
Yeah.
The Bertinellis, but
and also again
kind of
like
guys.
Realism versus formalism. That word we've known for so long.
Yeah, we've always known.
Yeah, it's like Joker is bad because it's like taking a camera and just following a real person. Yeah, like you're not gonna see a girl enter a police department with a confetti cannon,
which is so good.
Yeah.
Well, but I think it's a good point too. Is like Joker is about terrible people doing terrible things, but it also doesn't really effectively call out how problematic that is. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go on a whole Joker rant again, but like kind of like I said back then, my big problem with that movie was that at the end of the day, it was still glorifying a character that should not be glorified. And I think here it's the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. It's like no one's going to come out of this going like, oh, Black Mask is awesome. Like Ewan McGregor is great.
He's having so much fun.
He's weird. He's quirky, but like he's
such a good dancer.
He's a great dancer, but also like he clearly went into this knowing like this character is not going to be portrayed in any sort of real positive way. Like you're really happy when he gets blown the fuck up at the end.
Yeah.
Because he deserves that. He deserves a really insane death. If anything, Victor Zsasz, his death, probably not extreme enough.
Oh, not even close.
No. He deserved much, much worse than he got. So I love that it was daring in that way. And I mean, it sounds weird to say that I think Ewan McGregor is like one of the best parts of this, but I think he's just putting in a really good performance.
Yeah.
And he
has the dance moves.
He does. Well, and I liked that they took someone who has an inherent charm and let that charm play out, but then also completely undercut it in really effective ways.
Well, because when you first meet him, he seems like he's like not that bad of a guy.
Yeah. He seems like, he's weird, he's kind of intense, and yeah, he's like cutting people's faces off, but he's charming in a way like a villain is charming.
Twinkle.
Yeah.
He's got that twinkle in his smile.
But then you're like, oh no, this is horrible. And
it's like you see the turn.
Yeah.
Of like the second someone steps like away from him.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? How dare you? You're going against me now?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah.
He's scary. Like he's legitimately really, really horrifying and scary. And I think, actually, let's talk about. Okay, let me go with this. I'm trying to decide if I want to talk about the good things or some of the critiques.
You've been pretty positive so far.
So okay, I think I'll get into like what my major problem with this is, and then we'll get back to the stuff that does work really well. But I think at the end of the day, the biggest problem with this movie is that the movie itself is actually pretty fine. Yeah, there's like some tonal inconsistencies for me that I didn't quite love. But I think what undercuts it the most is the lack of a cohesive outside universe. So here, Black Mask is essentially taking the role of the Joker, right? Like the Joker in the DCAU, we've talked about this a lot, is charming and charismatic and interesting. And you kind of get why Harley would fall in love with him, but they also show how he is horrible to her and he's a really terrible person. And they do a really good job of showing like both sides of him that way. And they do a good job with that with Black Mask here. But for me, what it shows is that what this movie is missing is the Joker. Like, it's a movie where he is supposed to have this really extreme presence. Like, I liked the idea that Harley even continues to use him as a safety blanket after they break up because she knows that she's untouchable as long as they're together.
I loved that. And I feel like that was enough of Joker that we needed.
I think for me...
Because that is his presence being shown. And then even, like, when she brings Cassandra to her apartment, and she's like, oh, who's that guy? It's like, how do you not... You don't know Mr. J?
Well, and I think for me that didn't work because we don't know the Joker. Like, you and I know the Joker because we've seen so many different iterations of him. We can pull that from all these different places. But the thing is like this movie is actively jettisoning so many aspects of Suicide Squad, which is a good call.
Yeah.
But it has to keep so many of them that like this still has to be the Jared Leto version of the Joker. But also we've thrown out that version of the Joker and he's not in this movie at all.
Right.
So we don't really know that version that well. Like we only know the things we know in Suicide Squad. But this movie is different enough that it kind of needed a bit of his presence somewhere in there. Like, I didn't really buy that moment of like, oh, yeah, this one kid doesn't know the Joker, but it's not like we actively really feel his presence. It's a little bit too background for someone to call out what a big deal he is.
I was coming in with the idea that this was just like a soft reset.
I mean, it totally is.
It is, but for me, I wanted to see this, where I saw this movie with the idea of it's not connected at all. It's just a coincidence that it's the same actors playing Harley. And so even coming in that way, seeing the Captain Boomerang poster, that felt weird for me. Of like, oh, they are still trying to keep this connected.
Well, yeah, because she's still in the next Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah, but again, I wanted that to be just like a reset.
And I think that's ultimately what the whole problem that this stems from. This is a movie where the Joker has a prominent presence, but isn't ever on screen in any real meaningful way. It's a movie that acknowledges like Batman exists and that Bruce Wayne is out there, but also as it exists right now, it's like, wait, what version of Bruce Wayne and Batman is this? Like, is it the Ben Affleck version? Like, and again, these are problems with, at the end of the day, Warner Brothers and studio, not the film. But I think ultimately this movie for me would have worked a little bit better if it felt like a pocket storyline in a more cohesive universe. Like, and I think that's a space that DC could help differentiate themselves from Marvel. Like, Marvel knows how to do everything super well connected, but to a degree, it actually makes it difficult because you can't do kind of offshoots a little bit. Like, this would have been a great offshoot if in the background, like, we actually saw, like, there was a version of Bruce Wayne that we already knew and had seen do his own stories, and, like, we just saw a picture of him somewhere back there. Or if it's a movie where we're at the GCPD and we walk past and we see Commissioner Gordon and they're like having a conversation with Bulk or something like that. Or if we get to see the Joker for a little bit, right? Like, if all of those pieces were kind of interwoven through there, it would have felt a little bit less like they had to write around them.
I feel like I agree with all that. One of the things I really appreciated about this is because it kind of jogged my memory when you said a pocket storyline. This is a very small story. Like, there's no portals. There's no faceless minions.
Fucking God.
There's a couple of faceless minions.
I mean, there's a lot of them, but like, whatever.
Yeah.
But they're like people. They're actual human.
Yeah, it's not a horde.
Yeah, it's not some weird mud horde. The putties.
Yeah, it's not something big enough where you would think like, oh, why isn't Batman getting involved? Like, oh, why isn't Superman getting involved?
Yeah.
Where it's small enough of like, oh yeah, I can understand of like, I understand why Gordon's not on this. Like, it's not a huge case. It's not something where the entire GCPD should be caught up in it.
Yeah.
I mean, like her taking everyone out. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on such a small scale where I can understand why no one else would be there.
Yeah, and I think it's very fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the stakes are high, but they're specific.
Right.
Which is really nice.
They're high for these characters.
Yeah, but not for the universe, which is, like, again, that's what we were saying, like, Suicide Squad should have been.
Right.
Like, the finale of Suicide Squad, the whole story of Suicide Squad should have revolved around, like, the Joker as an antagonist, not this weird thing that you would clearly have, like,
it should have been them trying to, like, recapture the Joker.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been a great story.
Yeah, because then you have the problem with Harley of, like, they could have just broke. Well, what was Assault in Arkham? What was their mission? They're trying to break Joker out of Arkham? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because Batman's trying to stop them breaking him out.
Yeah. Such a better film.
It is. And I remember going into Assault on Arkham not liking it at all. But I want to rewatch it now, especially after kind of this resurgence of Harley.
Yeah. And see how they handle her as a character.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel they handled Harley as a character in this movie?
I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's fun and just quirky enough and like a little too Deadpool.
A little bit.
I love the moments where she kind of like breaks off and turns into Harleen and like does the psychoanalysis of everyone.
Yeah.
I could have had like 2 more beats of that.
Yeah.
I think. Because I don't. She does it with every character. She doesn't do it with Zaz.
She does it with Huntress, right? Like
she does it with Huntress. She does it with Canary. She does it with
Black Mask.
Black Mask.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I could have had 2 more beats of it.
But you're right. One of the things this movie does really well is that it shows how capable she is. Mm-hmm. Like, she is an incredible fighter. Like, she's smart and she's clever, and I think that is highlighted well in the choreography. Where like there's a great moment where like, she throws the bat at the ground and bounces up and hits the guy in the face.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, right? Or like,
that was so good.
It's so good. Like where she grabs, I do love that moment of like she's getting shot at and like the cocaine flies everywhere. She's like sniffs it in and then she grabs one of the bags and like hits it with the bat and takes the guy out. Like,
yeah.
Again, like she's smart, she's clever, she's very capable, she's an excellent fighter. She knows how to read people, but she's still flawed and she makes mistakes. Mm-hmm. And like she's
kind of cocky about it all.
Yeah, and she's weird and kooky and gets in her own way, but she's also good at what she does. Like, you buy the fact that she would actually be kind of treated seriously, or maybe that she isn't treated as seriously as she should be because she's actually really good at what she does.
Yeah, I think it is the other way. I think it's people don't treat her as fearsome as she is.
Yeah,
because she's been using Joker as the meat shield for so long.
Yeah, that's all he's really good for is being a meat shield.
Yeah,
yeah. I liked her a lot. I liked Black Canary a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Too, like, again, someone who is just trying to do her own thing but kind of like keeps getting drawn into this like bigger world. Also, like, an excellent fighter.
Yeah.
I really liked
like doing her best to not get wrapped up in this.
Yeah, I liked too that she is trying to kind of disappear a little bit, and things keep pulling her out. Like, we get that moment of she breaks the one glass in the bar, and we get the sense that like, she has the powers. And then like for her, it's a big deal when she actually like really uses it at the end, and it's really well utilized.
Yeah,
too. It's like
I agree.
If you're gonna use one like Canary Scream, they use it really, really well.
Because you feel the pressure in that. Like, they're out of ammo.
Yeah,
they're still like you see them beat up a ton of bad guys.
Yeah,
but there's still so many left.
It did seem a little bit stupid on their part to just like walk out the front door like, oh, it's all well and fine. Like, no, because he's still out there. Like, Black Mask is still out there.
I love that because I feel like they also all forgot. Like, they're all just like having another conversation.
Yeah, they just forgot.
It's like, what do you mean? There's more people? Like, we thought we got everyone already.
Everyone. Yeah, I liked that. I liked Canary. Liked. I did like Montoya. I get what you mean about her being maybe in a slightly different movie and it's a different take on Montoya. But I like the fact that she's just fucking annoyed.
Yeah,
all the time at everyone and everything, and I thought that came through really, really well.
Well, she's the mom.
Yeah, she totally is. And I liked they didn't shy away from the fact that Montoya is in the comics a lesbian, and that was like right there front and center.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about Huntress?
I think she was I love her so much, but I don't think she was used well.
To be fair, you love Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
I love Mary Elizabeth Winstead so much. I love the beats that she got. I just feel like they didn't give her anything.
Yeah, she was not in there, but god damn it, does she have a great agent, because she is second billing.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's.
Because I was like, wait, what?
I feel like Ali Wong had like a weirdly high billing too.
Yeah, she was pretty high up there.
She was like top 8, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have 4 minutes of screen time.
You're barely in this. But yeah, great agent.
Yeah, they gave her nothing. And she even comes in of like, I don't know what I'm doing here because no one told me anything. I haven't met our director. I haven't met anyone on the crew.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, they just gave me a crossbow and said, stand here. And I'm like, what are my lines? Like, that's it.
Yeah. Okay, she's not utilized a lot, but when she's on screen, how did you feel about the character?
Oh, I love her so much. Just kind of like because she is what Bruce should be.
Yeah.
Of like,
just
have
angry.
No idea, be angry and have no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
She's been isolated in this like mercenary camp for her entire life, basically.
Yeah.
The last thing she remembers was she was 8-ish.
I think so.
It's like she should still have the kind of emotional depth of an 8-year-old. Like
Actually,
I feel
no, she was like a young teenager. I want to
say.
Okay,
well,
maybe like 12.
We'll
12,
say
13.
she was the same. We'll say she's a similar age to Cassandra Cain.
Yeah, I think she's about that age.
I feel like she should have the same emotional range as Cassandra.
Oh,
like both of them should have been this very petty of like, why do I have to listen to you? Like, you're not my parents. Kind of attitude towards everything.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Yeah,
there's
like kind of like a little bit of Arrested Development going on there, but like for entirely different reasons than say like Harley, who in her own way like is kind of childish at times.
Yeah, and then Harley can call her out on that.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like she wasn't utilized. When she was on screen, I was happy. I don't think she had great dialogue.
No, I don't think the writing in this movie was amazing.
I feel like it's definitely. So we haven't talked about the name change yet.
No, we haven't.
Okay, I think them changing the name is more accurate to what the movie should be.
Yeah, so for those of you...
Because this is not a Birds of Prey movie.
Yeah, for those of you unaware, like, as I said at the beginning, the original title of the film, as it was released, was Birds of Prey, and then it addresses Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn story.
Yeah. It's been changed, I guess, in some theaters.
In 3 theater chains.
Okay, but like the major ones, though. I think you said AMC.
It's AMC, Cinemark, and Regal.
Okay, yeah. So the big chains are now changing the name to Harley Quinn,
Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers has come out and said this isn't because we're not making any money. We promise it's not that. Yeah. Because the movie is still not making any money.
It's not doing great.
It made $100 million less than Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Like, that's the perspective we're in. Well, that's crazy.
However, we have talked about the fact that Suicide Squad was an excellently marketed film.
It was. Incredibly well.
To this, like, we rewatched that trailer recently.
Yeah.
And we're like, fuck, this is a good trailer. I know how bad this movie is. I kind of want to watch it.
There was, I think I messaged you about this. There was a forum going on in a Facebook group, in the Great Mates Facebook group.
Oh, yeah.
Of like, what is the best trailer ever, and does the movie hold up?
Yeah.
And basically every other comment was a DC trailer.
A lot of good DC trailers. That we should maybe do that as a bonus episode. I think that'd be really fun to dive into that, because there's some great trailers out there. Like, there are still some movies I will still go back and watch the trailers for.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like the Watchmen trailer.
Oh,
I bought the song because that trailer was so good.
I listen to that song all the time.
Yeah.
I still listen to it quite a bit, actually. Like, both the Watchmen trailers are really great.
Good, yeah.
I'm still a huge fan of the first Superman Returns teaser trailer came out.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
It's really good. We'll watch it after we're done recording, but it really well utilizes the Planet Krypton theme from the original movie, and then also some of the dialogue from Marlon Brando. It's like just a really beautifully constructed trailer. But yeah, I think we should do something on that at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But like Suicide Squad, very, very well marketed. I think this wasn't quite as well marketed.
No, I feel like a lot of people coming in were, I think also having the background knowledge of Suicide Squad
kept
a lot of people away.
Yeah. because I think Suicide Squad, the marketing was trying to trick you into thinking it was a movie that it wasn't. I think the marketing for this movie was pretty accurate in terms of what we got. I just think that it's still a little bit inconsistent. I mean, the marketing wasn't super on point. I did like the classical art posters that were popping up all over town, like the Venus. What's the classic? Like it's the Venus de Milo.
Venus de Milo, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, which one are you talking about? The
painting of like the woman, the Venus in the clamshell.
Yeah.
Right. Like they basically riffed on that, which I thought was kind of clever.
Yeah. Birth of Venus.
Thank you. Yeah. Because Venus de Milo is the
statue.
Thank you. You studied art. I didn't.
I did. I also just watched the Simpsons episode where it's the
gummy de Milo.
The gummy de Milo.
But we were looking up how Birds of Prey is doing. It's not doing great.
$100 million less.
Right, yeah. So
that's insane.
33 million over its opening weekend. It's the worst of the DC extended universe, quote unquote, film. So Shazam was 53, Suicide Squad was 133, and then Birds. I guess it's now reached like closer to 80 million.
Yeah,
and the estimated budget was 82. So it still would have to clock in around like 160 to 200 to like really be considered profitable, but it's just not, I think, getting the traction they really wanted out of it.
Yeah, and a lot of people are blaming like, oh, it's just because it's February. But like, no, Black Panther came out in February, Deadpool came out in February.
Let's see, it looks like it's going to get maybe about a 50% drop, which is okay. Aquaman was only 23, Wonder Woman was 45, but BVS was 69.
Nice.
Suicide Squad was 60. Nice. Was 67. I think. I mean,
I don't think it. I understand that a lot of people are kind of split on this movie. Even with that idea, I think this movie is doing vastly under what it should be doing.
I would agree with that. I am not as keen on it as you or as some of the other people that have written in with some opinions. That being said, I don't think it's bad.
Like, I'll watch this movie again. I will most likely never watch Suicide Squad again. I'll probably never watch Man of Steel again. Or BVS again.
We're eventually going to.
Why?
Because we're gonna at some point start doing the live action movies.
That's true.
We keep throttling to do it.
Yeah,
but don't worry, that's like years down the line.
Yeah, don't put that knife up to my throat yet.
Just put that away.
Yeah.
But
like I'll watch this again. Like if there's nothing else on a plane, I'll turn this on a plane.
I think I don't see myself watching this again in the same way. Like I really have no interest in watching like Aquaman or Shazam again. They're all a little bit forgettable for me. But when we eventually revisit them to do the movies, I'm not gonna be like upset that I'll be rewatching it. I will definitely end up rewatching the GCPD sequence again. Actually, I might end up watching it just to see the fight sequences again, and maybe just see if I'm a little bit warmer on it a second time around. Not in theaters, but I would be maybe open to watching this again. But I want it to be doing better than it is, because here's the real tragedy of what's going to happen. Like, maybe the movie wasn't super well marketed. Maybe people were put off because of Suicide Squad, or the DC films in general have been great. But for whatever reason this isn't doing well, ultimately it's going to get blamed on the wrong things.
Right.
It's going to get blamed on being
a female-led movie,
which we all know is not true. It's going to get blamed on Kathy Yan, the director. This is only her second film, and I don't think the things that don't work for me, I don't necessarily think are her fault. I think a lot of the issues I have ultimately probably stem from more studio interference, because we know
most likely,
Warner Brothers does not know what they're doing with these movies. But what's probably ended up happening is that it's now less likely to say that we're going to get a sequel to this, which I would watch a sequel for Birds of Prey. I would watch a sequel for like a Harley story, especially if they bring in Poison Ivy, which I know they really want to do.
I wish they would have had some reference to Poison Ivy.
Yeah, I wish there's something in here too. Does she make any reference to her about like meeting up with her in Arkham or anything like that?
I don't think so.
Not that I can recall. I get why they chose this. I guess Margot Robbie has said that she really wanted to get Birds of Prey made instead of like, say, Gotham City Sirens, which would have been Poison Ivy and Catwoman, because she wanted lesser known characters. And I'm glad. I like the versions they do of Black Canary and Montoya and Huntress enough that I would want to see more
Absolutely,
of them. Yeah. I think the thing that sucks is now that this movie takes swings, and they don't always work for me, but I liked they did that, and I think we're going to see less movies like this get made. We're going to see more movies like Joker.
I know.
I really don't
we
like
have,
that.
We have another situation where realism is making more money than formalism, and that's going to push Hollywood in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Again, just fucking People watch Speed Racer and realize that formalism is great.
Speed Racer is great. But I also kind of wish this movie had maybe leaned a little bit heavier into that. Like, I wanted to feel a bit more comic booky.
I was going to say, for a formalist movie, there's almost no CGI in this outside of
which I like.
Yeah. The hyena.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job with the hyena. Actually.
He's great. Yeah.
I also really like just that the hyena exists.
Yeah, that he's in like
he's just in a bathtub.
Yeah,
in her apartment,
eating only candy.
Just eating candy, and they are really good about throwing in like the hyena laugh when they need to, and like actually having it play pretty well. I love that he's in there.
So there was a shot in the trailer that wasn't in the movie.
Which one?
When she walks into the group with Bruce, and everyone is like, "Is that a hyena?"
Oh yeah, I guess it was cut out. Yeah,
because I was waiting for that moment, and then when Bruce was like quote unquote dead, I'm like, "Oh shit!"
Were you
it hit me a little more.
I was upset. I was like, "No,
yeah,
I like Bruce,
that hunky Wayne fella."
Yeah. No, I would rather. I feel like for me, this movie didn't quite land, but I would want to see more. I feel like in the same way that like Power Rangers kind of that way for me too. Like I like that movie a lot, and I wanted to see more of it. Like you feel like maybe the second time around they could work through some of the kinks.
Right.
I'm just worried that won't happen here.
I don't think it will. At most, I could see a sequel or a spinoff coming to DC Universe or more likely HBO Max.
Yeah. But I would still rather...
we still know what's going to happen to DCU when HBO Max launches.
But I think I'd still rather see this done as a movie.
Me too.
And I mean, it's worth acknowledging too, like, the Harley Quinn show also now exists. And
is better than this.
It is better.
It's where I am.
Yeah. So
I'm not fully caught up yet.
I'm caught up. So as of the time this podcast comes out, it will be one episode away. So the finale is yet to air, and I'm caught up. The further the show gets, when more plot comes into play, the less it kind of works for me. I liked it a little bit better when it was more just kind of like little capers.
Well, it's the stuff that we've been joking about. It's the villain real estate agent.
Yeah, it's a weird little thing.
Yeah.
Also, their version of Bane is probably my favorite version of Bane because no one takes him seriously at all. Have you reached the episode yet where he keeps wanting to try to blow up the smoothie?
I don't think so.
It's so... that might be the next episode.
Okay,
for you. It's a really good
love
bit.
King Shark.
Ron Funches is so good in that show.
He's such a great guy. He's the like people always just put me in that stereotype. I'm just the tech guy.
Yeah. I'm not a vicious man-eating shark. And then he does it sometimes. It's so good. But I think that show and this movie are doing two very, very different things. And I think this movie specifically wanted to tell a story about the consequences of toxic masculinity, especially on women, and like how much women have to look out for each other to survive. And I think it does a really good job with that. I think by contrast, Harley Quinn, the show, is much more about someone going through a breakup. Yeah. Specifically.
Well, with the show, you have the advantage of Harley is the butt of every joke.
Yeah. But like in the movie though, she's still proven to be very, very capable.
Yeah. But it's always at her expense. Whereas the movie is kind of half that.
Yeah.
But half just like the other problem. Like Gotham feels like a fine place and she's just kind of messing it up in the series.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like Gotham's already bad and she's just kind of caught up in some of the bad.
Yeah, she's just one of the pieces.
Yeah.
And sometimes she makes it worse, sometimes she makes it less worse.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the show for me it takes a bit better advantage of being designed for a mature audience. Like I think they are much more creative, like their use of swearing. It's also much more heightened.
Oh yeah. And they have the advantage of it's for us. It's for the specific fans of like Batman.
You wouldn't in a movie have Kite Man be such a significant presence.
I fucking love the relationship with them.
Such a great job with Kite Man. I love how just Poison Ivy feels so bad. She clearly doesn't like that she likes this guy, but she does genuinely really like him at the same time.
I just had the episode where they go on the date. And he opens his kite in the restaurant. He's like, "Can you just put that away?" He's like, "Well, there's like a whole hydraulic system thing. It takes a little bit."
Yeah. It's like, because that version of Kite Man, like, he is like stupid and kind of a bro, but he's not problematic. Mm-hmm. Like, he's very harmless.
Yeah.
In his broiness.
He's not a fuckboy.
No, he's not
per se. He's trying to be.
He's trying, but he's falling so far short.
Yeah.
And I like him a lot. I think that version of Harley in particular works really well for me. I was a little bit skeptical going in because like the DCU version is like definitively the best. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like that Kaylee Cuoco's just kind of doing her voice.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
She's not trying to put on a voice.
Yeah, it's like yelly and shouty, but that's what the character is.
Yeah.
And I think for me, sometimes the Margot Robbie voice doesn't quite land. It's a little weird.
Okay.
But I think that their version of Harley in that show works. I also think it's the best version of Poison Ivy we've ever gotten.
Oh, she's great. Just the supportive.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, just be crazy. I'll clean up. Just, get it all out.
She's the supportive, rational person that isn't a villain and also keeps pointing out, like, is protecting the environment villainous? Yeah. I really don't quite understand why you guys think this is so evil. Like, I'm actually just literally trying to save the planet. So thank you for that. Thank you for letting me in. But, like, she doesn't want anything to do with the Legion of Doom. And like, I think we were both kind of skeptical going into both of these projects.
Yeah.
And you more so for the movie than me, but like they both turned out pretty like
they're fun. Like they're fun things.
Yeah, I think for me the show especially, but like so do you think though that the show and the movie are separated enough and have a different enough audience for them to coexist, or do you think that now we're going to create a situation where maybe one or the other is going to get compromised in favor of the other?
I think because the movie's doing so poorly, it will be compromised. But no, having them side by side, I feel like they're different enough where like the Harley series is, like you said, it's Harley's breakup story.
Yeah. Whereas
the movie is Margot Robbie being Harley.
Yeah.
Like that is how they advertise it. And I'm sure, I think you were on the same page. I was a little upset with the advertising where we didn't see any of the other characters, but now it makes sense of this is Harley Quinn : Birds of Prey.
It's a Harley Quinn show.
Birds of Prey : Harley Quinn story.
Yeah. Okay, so actually that's an interesting point. Do you think this movie is there a version of this movie that's actually a Birds of Prey story and Harley is in a sort of semi-antagonistic, semi-supportive role in the background? And would you be interested in that movie? Do you think it works better the way they did it this way with her being the front and center?
I think we could have had the same story from Black Canary's perspective and make that the Birds of Prey movie.
Okay.
Where she hears kind of the murmurs of this breakup, and then she sees Harley kind of running rampant through the club, still under the guise of the meat shield of Joker.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see the sympathy come in the you don't have the Harley backstory part yet. It just goes from that scene to the next morning where Harley's still out back about to be kidnapped. Mm-hmm. And then Black Canary is like, all right, I'll fucking save her, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you unveil like, oh, the breakup is real. Oh, everyone is after her now. Mm-hmm. And you can still add in the humor bits of like, oh, we have to go to this place. They have the best breakfast sandwich. You can keep that whole joke in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be kind of interested in the version where Harley is like the supporting character, like who doesn't have to carry the narrative weight and arc around, and she just gets to be there and be super fun and steal every single scene that she's in.
Yeah.
But that being said, that movie would never get made because they need to have her at the front and center because she's popular enough to actually get the financing.
I was gonna say like we could have that in the next Suicide Squad, but no, it's just gonna be more of the Harley story, which I'm not upset about. I feel like that came off tonally wrong. Suicide Squad will be a continuation of Harley Quinn : the Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
Not Suicide Squad : Harley Quinn's here too.
Harley Quinn's here too.
Like, no.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens going forward if we get another movie or any other kind of spinoffs out of this. I actually don't know how well Harley Quinn is doing on the platform. I think it's critically doing quite well. I mean, pretty much anyone I talk to absolutely loves it.
It's holding like 80% on both critic and fan vote on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, I kind of see why, because like and I think maybe part of the reason I'm less keen on the movie is because the show exists, and the show has all these characters in the background. Like Batman exists in the background. The Joker is a actual character, and it goes deep in terms of its cuts, and pulls them all out, and versus having to write around them. I think that works for me a little bit better. Like if that show feels like its own really deep universe, even though it actually isn't spun off from anything else.
Right.
It's entirely its own thing.
There was the one. There was a cameo in this movie that everyone is flipping out over, and I'm a little frustrated of how deep we are into Batman now, where we didn't get to appreciate the not outrage, but like the overjoy of the Arlene Sorkin moment.
I was gonna ask if you caught that.
Oh, of course I caught it.
Yeah. So for those of you
who've watched it fucking 6 times.
I know.
Well,
I think that's the thing is you and I are probably some of the few people who actually would have spotted that, because we actually had to go look up that photo for this
so
podcast.
Many times, yeah.
But yeah, there's a great moment when I think it's when they're leaving her apartment when it's under attack, right?
Yeah.
And as they're walking out, the TV is playing an episode of Days of Our Lives, and it's the episode featuring Arlene Sorkin as a Harley Quinn-esque character that inspired Bruce Timm and Paul Dini to create Harley Quinn and to get Arlene Sorkin to do the voice.
Yeah.
And like that is maybe like the deepest cut imaginable.
It's the deepest cut you could have for Harley Quinn.
Yes, and I love they included it in there, and I love that it's like it is perfectly positioned that if you see it, you'll recognize. If you see it and know what it is,
yeah,
it's there and it's prominent enough to notice it. But otherwise, you would not even give it a second.
You wouldn't think about it. Yeah,
it's a great little moment. Like that was one of my favorite moments in the whole thing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like little things in this that I really liked. I really liked the moment where Harley gives Canary a hair tie during the fight.
Yeah. Like that was very, very genuine.
I don't know where. I think it was a tweet I saw where some point like this is clearly what happens when you have a female director making an action movie. It's like she would have that little nod of like, oh yeah, and like here's this thing, which I really, really loved.
It's like, how are you fighting without a hair tie right now?
Yeah. I love that Harley does like the whole fight on roller skates.
Yeah, that's so fun.
And she's really good at it. It's like I think it's Canary points out like, when did she do a shoe change?
Yeah.
Like I guess the more I talk about it, the more I actually do like it.
Well, because we aren't talking about the kind of drags. We're talking about the fun. Like most of this movie is very fun, but there are moments of like, I feel like the Cassandra Cain part is kind of flat. The Montoya part, I'm still not a big fan of. And
Cassandra Cain, they went for a very different approach on her. Or at least the version I know from the comics is the one that appeared during the No Man's Land arc after the Great Earthquake destroys Gotham, and basically it becomes like a free-for-all war zone. Mm-hmm. And in that version, Huntress shows up in like the war-torn Gotham, dressed in the full like bodysuit, black and yellow. You can't see her face.
Gotcha.
And she's pretending to be Batgirl, and Batman knows who it is, and eventually she leaves. And then Cassandra Cain, who is the daughter of David Cain, like one of the world's best assassins. I think maybe Lady Shiva. I'm not 100% certain on that. Someone will probably correct me. But she comes from a heritage of assassins, and she's mute. I can't remember if she's physically mute or she just doesn't talk. But obviously that's harder to do on screen, but it's a very different characterization here. I kind of feel like it could have been anyone other than Cassandra Cain.
I feel like this is supposed to be female Tim Drake. Or Jason Todd.
Yeah,
Jason Todd, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like that character, and I think she's fun, and she's a good foil for Harley.
Yeah. I just feel like giving her the name. I think it's just having the name Cassandra Cain.
Yeah.
Like if they'd given her given just like someone else.
Yeah. I think they did it just because they wanted to like be like, hey, there's a Batgirl-ish in this.
Yeah.
But like that even sort of sets up the potential disappointment of like a future Birds of Prey movie. It's like, well, does Batgirl exist in this universe? There's talking about maybe doing a movie at some point. Like, I would love it if a Birds of Prey sequel also included Batgirl or Oracle. I really love Barbara when she's Oracle.
I really wish that was another nod we would have had as like, just like something in the GCPD to reference Oracle.
Yeah, and again, for me, that's those moments I feel like they were kind of writing around it. You probably need to wrap up pretty soon, right? Should we like steer towards a?
Yeah, we can start steering.
Okay.
'Cause I think I'm pretty tapped.
Okay.
I have all my notes out.
Yeah. No, like I would have loved it if it had felt. I would have loved the sort of like depth and texture of the universe you get out of Marvel in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just would have been a bit better. But again, that's not really the fault of Kathy Yan or Margot Robbie or any of the people who like did, or Chad Stahelski who did like really great work on it.
Yeah, it's the critique we've had forever, and it's the lack of Kevin Feige.
It really does make a difference. You really do need someone like steering the ship, and I feel like if you have someone who can come in and help steer the ship, and then also like give a lot of rein and be supportive of filmmakers coming up with their own vision, then all of this stuff would just land a little bit better than it does, and it wouldn't be quite so forgettable.
Yeah.
But we did get some outside perspective on this, as we love to do. So I mentioned Ashley Clark's review, like a comment she made earlier, but the full thing she sent me, which is fantastic as always, is I don't mean to be that person, but I suppose I am that person. I really enjoyed the movie.
Great.
So that being said, I simultaneously got teary and fucking mad because of one of those movies that you can just tell that was made by a woman, and it highlights a void in media that it hurts to remember exists, which I think is a really good point. Like I think
lack of hair ties. Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, but yeah, like little moments like that. And I mean, it's obviously like we're two cis men sitting here talking about this, but I mean, even we're able to pick up on how like distinctive this feels because it had such a creative force behind it that was female driven, and it really makes a big difference. Same thing with Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. Like you really feel that, and Ashley's got a really good point. It's like it does just further highlight the need for more of that. Fucking Booksmart.
Yeah.
Tangent here. Captain Marvel, the original directors, Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, aren't coming back. People are talking about who could fill that void. How would you feel if Olivia Wilde did Captain Marvel too?
I'm down.
I think it'd be amazing. I'd be a little bit worried about her like not getting to do her own stuff because she has such a distinct vision. But I'm not saying she has to do that movie, but my God, if that was the announcement that Olivia Wilde was directing Captain Marvel 2, that would all of a sudden become my most anticipated MCU film.
I also want to toss out Natalie Portman's dress really quick.
From the Oscars.
We didn't do any Oscar talk. That's fine.
That's fine. I didn't even watch them.
Yeah. Irishman got none, which I think is funny because that was the one you expected to have the most.
Did it actually get none?
It got no It got no awards.
Kind of happy with that actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Parasite came out with the most at 4.
Yeah, and one which no one expected, which is pretty crazy.
It's amazing.
It fucked up pretty much everyone's Oscar votes, which is great.
But for people who didn't see, Natalie Portman had it wasn't on her dress; it was like a cape almost.
Okay.
Where in the seam of the front of the fabric was embroidered all of the female directors that got snubbed in the Oscars.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
No, it's true. I mean, I haven't seen Little Women yet, but I'm going to go try and find it to go because I've heard it's really, really good. But it's like, I mean, a movie that is getting Best Picture nominations and acting nominations, all this other stuff.
It came out with 2 Oscars, I think.
Yeah, but not getting Best Director is ridiculous. The fact that we now have to say the phrase, the Oscar-nominated filmmaker Todd Phillips. Mm-hmm. Has Greta hurts me so.
Been nominated yet? Was she nominated for I, Tonya?
I'm pretty sure she was nominated for I, Tonya, or I think she was nominated for Lady Bird.
I would have to double check on that.
But like the fact that she wasn't nominated, the fact that there was no nominations whatsoever for Booksmart, which again, both of us Film of the Year. I haven't seen The Farewell yet, but I've heard that movie is great, and I've heard everyone be like, "Why the hell was Awkwafina not given a acting nomination? Why was Lulu Wang not giving a nomination?" I listened to a great interview with her on the Script Notes podcast. I bet you thought I was going to say Empire.
Is that part of Empire?
No, it's a entirely different thing.
Okay.
Script Notes is great. It's John August and Craig Mazin, 2 screenwriters who have been doing a podcast for like 5 years, and it's really, really good. It's all industry stuff. Great interview with her talking about like the process of getting the movie made. I was actually just listening to an interview on the Empire podcast with Marielle Heller, who directed A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yeah, that was great.
Yes, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Yeah, Won't You Be My Neighbor is the doc.
The doc, yeah.
But she also did Diary of a 17-Year-Old. What was the title? Diary of The Edge of... Fuck.
Are you talking about the Haley Steinfeld one?
Not the Haley Steinfeld. That one's Edge of 17. So I think it's like Diary of a Teenage Girl or something like that from a few years ago.
Okay.
With... I'm sorry, blanking on the actress's name. It's Belle something. That movie is great, but it's like... No. But like, yeah, no real nods for any of them, which I think is really tragic. So I love the fantastic shade that Natalie Portman was throwing off there. Because, again, we didn't really talk Oscars. I will say this. I know we're like in the wrong segment for it. I think for who was nominated in general, the choices they made for winners was good. Belle Powley, who's fantastic.
And Skarsgård.
Yeah. Oh, it's got a Skarsgård. Everything's better with some Skarsgård. I think who they picked was good. I just think that the nominations were where they fell through, but the actual winners were pretty good. But anyways.
So is that what Ashley was saying?
Back to Ashley was saying. She said, when Black Mask cuts the dress of the woman, I literally cried after I left the theater because she is not sexualized. Her panties aren't shown. Her bra is. It's not hot, or it's a push-up bra. The people around her, including men, look just as horrified as she is, and Black Mask is shown, as most male villains are never shown, as being petty as fuck and horribly narcissistic. The audience is made to feel as traumatized as she is. Again, simultaneously mad because it just highlights how that scene would always be softcore porn in another movie. She said, no, the characters aren't fleshed out. That isn't Cassandra Cain / Wayne at all. But I again have to ask, if this were a male-directed, male-gazing movie, would it be facing all this criticism for it? I think I should be allowed to have female-directed fucking popcorn movies too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like I think the perfect way of describing this. Like, yes, we should be getting more movies like this, and I think the criticism around it is going to be for the wrong things, unfortunately.
I think so too. Yeah.
And I think that the things that we should be getting more of, we probably won't, sadly. But so again, thank you as always for writing in, Ashley. Like, you generally are one of the people that I always want to hear your perspective on the most. We love it when you write in. But because I assumed going in that you were going to be less keen on this than I was. Like, I don't know where I came up with that idea. I just kind of made this guess because I saw it with Jason and he was kind of with me on it, and like not being super great. But I wanted one more perspective. So I reached out to my friend Sav Rodgers, who is a dear friend, total sweetheart. He's also a really fantastic filmmaker in his own right, and it just has great taste. It's like, okay, Sav, I know you've seen this movie 3 times. Pretty sure going in for a 4th soon. What did you think? So he wrote to me this morning and said, hi, Timm Talk listeners. My good pal Chris Lord, who I can only assume is your podcasting overlord.
No.
No, I'm the podcasting villain. We've established this.
Yeah.
Asked me to write about my thoughts on Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Buckle up, because I have a lot of overwhelmingly positive thoughts. Here are a few things you should know about me when you take my review into account. Number 1, I rewatch movies a lot. Some call this obsessive behavior, but I consider it part of my research as a filmmaker. I feel compelled to rewatch movies that I really like to try and understand what I love about them. 2, the movies I rewatch are ones that are personally or emotionally resonant with me. For the most part, it's the only thing that really matters to me when seeing a movie. Hell, I gave a TED Talk about how a movie mattering that much changed my life. This is absolutely true. I'll put it in the show notes. Sav has a great TED Talk about chasing Amy.
That's right.
And he's currently making the definitive documentary on it. So keep your ears posted for that. I go hard for these rewatchable movies. For instance, I saw Molly's Game 6 times in theaters. I was a one-man Oscar campaign for it to be considered for Best Actress and Best Editing. As I'm not part of the Academy at the time of writing this, I failed
Molly's
miserably.
Game was the one. Was the she was the
Jessica Chastain,
right, okay,
running the gambling ring.
Yeah, cause there was that, and there was the other Someone's Game, which was the Stephen King.
Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game. Okay.
Yeah, Molly's Game.
I saw Molly's Game. Molly's Game is great.
Yeah, I've heard it, and I've heard it's really good. It's
Michael Cera is fucking hilarious.
Oh, playing Tobey Maguire.
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, and it's written and directed by great old Aaron Sorkin.
Is it really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
amazing.
Exactly. I won't retell my story about Aaron Sorkin on the podcast. I just did. But you should still watch Molly's Game for what it's worth. That all being taken into account, here's my attempt to give my spoiler-free thoughts on Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey is a dynamic tour de force. Ignore all of the bullshit online. Go see this movie immediately, preferably after you're done listening to this episode of Timm Talk. Thank you, Sav. You should see it because it rules, but I also want more people to talk about it, damn it. I went to a comic shop yesterday, and none of the 3 guys hanging out behind the counter had seen it yet. Why?
That's insane.
Which is insane. It's a comic movie. Go fucking
That's your
see
job.
It's like it's why we saw Joker. It's like our fucking job.
Yeah.
And this is way better than that. First of all, I love an unreliable narrator. The story structure of Birds of Prey is immensely enjoyable with Harley as the storyteller. It feels like the script pulls from a genre Margot Robbie dominates, the super specific biopic where the narrator breaks the 4th wall and shit goes crazy. You know, movies like I, Tonya, The Big Short, Bombshell, and The Wolf of Wall Street. This happens to be my favorite genre of movies for what it's worth. It also contributes to the idea that this is her story about striking out on her own. Secondly, an R rating for the movie gives it incredible freedom to actually authentically tell a story from Holly's point of view. I see a lot of people complaining online about how a PG-13 rating would have helped the movie do better financially. which seems asinine given how, as of today, it made 160 million worldwide. Also, Joker, rated R, made $1 billion, tragically. There is severe violence in the film that still feels shocking as I embark on my fourth watch of the movie, and it also feels like a Harley Quinn comic come to life. After seeing what we can have, I'm genuinely not interested in seeing watered-down versions of Harley and friends on the big screen again. The stunts are incredible. BOP fundamentally doesn't work without these ridiculously impressive stunt people, though I am impressed by how often it actually seems to be the actors themselves taking on some of the rigorous fight choreography. The stunts really feel like they were lifted from the pages of a Harley Quinn comic. The performances are great. Everyone makes their character their own. I'm especially impressed by Jernee Smollett-Bell, who plays Black Canary, who I believe I last saw as Michelle's friend in Full House. True story. That's not shade. She was a delight then, and she's a delight now. Actually, I love the chemistry amongst the cast. It's a truly satisfying ensemble. Kathy Yan excels as a director. I'm insanely jealous. This is her only second feature film, and this movie is so good. I don't want to give anything away, but my God, it has the heart of an indie darling with the grandiose nature of a studio blockbuster. Yan and the cinematographer Matthew Lebatique truly shine together in creating a version of Gotham I would love to see again and again. Also, the sight gags made me laugh my ass off. Not sure who to give credit here for. A little more to go here, so bear with me. Something that really resonated with me was the intense vitriol of misogyny present throughout the film. I'm not sure I've ever seen it done better in a movie, and I know what you're maybe thinking. You're going to mansplain sexism to me. Well, fair point. However, being a trans guy, I spent a lot of time being treated like a woman, so I can say with some confidence that BOP unflinchingly shows how our culture's hatred of women can manifest even by people who may think they are likable to some in some contexts. Spot on point there, especially about Black Mask. Also, that soundtrack, listen to it. All bops and bangers, absolutely true. An obnoxious aspect to the film criticism is this compulsion to feel like you have to nitpick a filmmaker's work. I generally have no complaints about Birds of Prey. It works for me. While I can understand comic loyalists getting miffed about character deviations from the comic source material. Me. I don't have those issues with the flick. As a film independent of the source material, it works for me. And movies should be different from comics. They're different art forms and contribute different things to the storytelling landscape. I love how it honors comics I dearly love while being its own unique thing. So the final verdict. I've seen it 3 times now in theaters, once on preview night, once in its opening Friday night, and once on Valentine's Day. My expert opinion is that Margot Robbie should have exclusive control over making live-action Harley Quinn movies. Let her produce all of them and use her star power to get the Harley Ivy rom-com action flick we deserve. 100% agree. Please go see this movie and support innovative filmmaking with the comic book genre. Thanks for listening, Tim Talkers. I hope you agree with me, but you should tell me what you think either way. I tried not to spoil anything because you only get to see a movie for the first time once. Chris, this was long as fuck, and you probably should have just flown me out to LA to be a guest for how much time I took up. With love and affection, Sav Rodgers.
Amazing.
Yes. So, yeah, whenever, Sav, you're back in town again, I'll have you come on just to guest in general because you're a delight and always love your perspective. And I will put Sav's social media in the body of the show notes. What am I saying? But yeah, thank you very much. Like,
yes, that was very insightful.
Yeah, like I want to make sure we're getting outside perspectives other than just our own, because I think myself especially tend to get tunnel vision. That being said,
there was a small part of that I want to highlight.
Yeah.
Is Margot Robbie the best casting choice DC has done in the past? We'll say since Batman Begins.
That's interesting. Well, if you're saying since Batman Begins, then you're cutting out Heath Ledger as the Joker. You're cutting out Aaron Sorkin as Harvey Dent. You're cutting out
Aaron Sorkin.
Did I say Aaron Sorkin?
You said Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Eckhart. Thank you.
Go.
Oh my God, can you imagine Aaron Sorkin as Harvey Dent? Actually, I kind of can, yeah. You're cutting out Anne Hathaway's Catwoman, who I think is fantastic. I actually think Henry Cavill is good as Superman. He's just not given good stuff to work with. I actually think the same thing applies to Ben Affleck's Batman, and I think Gal Gadot is excellent as
I do think, she's a great Wonder Woman.
Chris Pine is great as Steve Trevor.
So no,
I think she is really. I think she is a really great casting choice if you're gonna go for someone who has the star power to get stuff made, which I think is ultimately necessary.
Yeah,
there is a part of me
and still has room to grow with the character.
Yeah, there is a part of me that would have loved to have maybe seen a smaller actor or even an unknown come in.
But I mean, she kind of was before then. Before then, it was.
I mean, her
Wolf of Wall Street,
which was a huge like splash for her.
Yeah.
And then I guess this was kind of one of the first big things she did after that.
Focus with Will Smith, his most recognizable role.
There's that. Oh my God. Yeah, way more than Men in Black. Everyone
way more than Men in Black. Focus is his
Will
definitive,
Smith
most recognizable
from
role.
his Super Bowl con artist movie that was never able to mention the NFL by name.
Yes.
I mean, I think she is excellent casting, and the great thing is that I think she has the kind of power to keep getting stuff made, which ultimately is great because she continues to be good in that role, even if the movies around her aren't as good, particularly Suicide Squad, and to a much lesser extent this movie, which overall is still pretty good. She'll keep getting stuff done, which I think is great. So yeah, I would say that's fair. Yeah, I mean, she's got the clout and the talent to do it. So
she's great.
Keep going, Margot. We believe in you.
We do.
We love you.
Yes.
All right. With that, anything else, or should we go ahead and land this bird?
Let's wrap this up.
All right. Well, if you have other thoughts of the movie, we would really genuinely love to hear them. And you can find us at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail.
That's right.
I would say probably an Instagram message or an email would be the best place to send some like longer thoughts. You can find me at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook.
Nope.
You can't find me on any of those things.
No.
You can find me at Lordifer on Instagram and Twitter. You can find Sav on Twitter at Snackpack and on Instagram at Sav Rodgers Film. Go check out both of his accounts.
Amazing.
He's fantastic. And Cameron, where can they find you?
If you want to see my art and my very self-deprecating Valentine's Day comic, you can
great.
find that. Thank you. You can find that at Cameron.Dexter. If you want to see my face and all of my Disney stuff, you can find that at CamDexter_adventures. And I forgot to plug this last time, but I have an animated series out.
You do?
On Disney's YouTube channel called Positively Mini. Episode 2 just came out.
Yeah.
And we have 8 more coming out soon.
Yeah, I put the last episode in the notes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's part of the plugs. Yeah.
Amazing.
I gotta look out for you, buddy. It's great stuff. They're really good.
I forgot to plug it last time.
Yeah, go check them out. They're amazing. But no, I think that's it. So back next week with more DCAU.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.